Alright, what's going on my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today, this is probably going to be a long video, but we're going to try and get through as much as we possibly can in regards to this tweet and this community post that I did put up on the YouTube channel a handful of days ago, where I was just basically putting it out there. You know, if you were in charge of One Piece Treasure Cruise, what would you change in order to make the game a much better experience? So I actually got a lot of traction on this tweet, a lot of people viewing it, a lot of people commenting it, and I assume there's going to be some overlap. There's going to be a lot of overlap between people's comments, so we'll try and get through as much as we possibly can. But hopefully this is going to be a good video to not only just compile all of the grievances that the community has together in one place, but I hope that this is going to be a good video to potentially send to the Bandai peeps to hopefully get some things kind of resolved, because if there are going to be a lot of the same grievances between the players, that's obviously a point where, you know, the dev team, producers, management have to really address it, you know? So hopefully we can take all of this in consideration, and I really do hope that there are valid criticisms in here and not people just complaining for the sake of complaining. Understandably so. People are going to be upset either way, but let's jump into it. Let's actually start. Let's start with the X post. This is the one that I put out first, okay? Shout out to main Captain Pappy, does a lot for the community here. Let's just zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see everything in its glory. Increase the variety of boosted units. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest grievances I personally have. The fact that when you start an event or when you have like this TMs, the PKAs, the boosted list is just so minimal. And it's like if you don't have the new units that come out, you basically are kind of stuck and you're running a very non-optimal team. You have to use friend captains, which can be very, very tricky to get, especially if you're a lower end / mid-level player. Usually established players that have been in the community for a while will have pretty good friends that, you know, end up spending money on a lot of Sugo Fests, where getting good friend captains is not that big of an issue. But I can definitely understand the fact that that's not going to be something that everyone gets access to. As I said, if you're a like early / mid-level player, you're not going to have a lot of good friend captains, and relying on friend captains to beat content is just terrible. I mean, they could do so many different ways to make content better, but they should definitely have like a thing where, you know, when you start an event, like the max boosted units should just have a Bandai friend captain available to you to at least use whenever you need them. That needs to happen at a bare minimum. But of course, the boosted list is just terrible. When TM first came out, the boosted list was actually really good. Like they would have really, really large boosted list characters on the events, which allowed people to not only get around the gimmicks still, but also actually still get decent point multipliers. Nowadays, it's very difficult to do that. So obviously that is one of the biggest issues I have. Draw more focus on the puzzle aspect. I'm not 100% sure what Pappy's talking about here. This could be like its own game mode. Like if they have like, if you guys know, I don't know how to like get an example of this. But I guess like chess puzzles where like there's like a set like chessboard and then you have to like put in the right moves in order to actually beat that puzzle. I think something like that would actually work pretty well in Treasure Cruise, where you get a pre-built crew and you're like jumped into like an event halfway through it and it's like use this team with these supports, this ship, and beat the content. I think something like that would actually work really well, but you just know that the way that Bandai implement new pieces of content, something like that would be implemented pretty lazily, right? Alright, modernizing and revamping ranking rewards, Chopman missions, and all shops. I definitely think that the shops need upgrading for sure. Chopman missions, I feel like, just got revamped with the panel missions, the premium missions. I think Chopman missions, as it stand right now, are actually pretty good. Modernizing and revamping ranking rewards, definitely. I think that the ranking rewards have been very stagnant. Basically, whenever a new game mode comes out, they have their set ranking rewards, and they never change it ever. Like, even when we have certain blitz battles for certain events, like the blitz battle rewards basically stay the same as well. That needs to happen for sure. Rotate ranked events opposed to occurring each month. I think this is not a terrible idea as well, where, you know, 1 month you have TM, 1 month you have PKA, and potentially they shift it up a little bit so that the event actually can last for an entire month rather than 4 or 5 days / a week / 2 weeks, you know what I mean? I think it's a little bit difficult to do it with the way that the game is currently set up. I think it is too difficult to shy away from the current structure of events, unless if they really, really do something drastic. But I think as it stands right now, it's probably not going to change too much. make previous free-to-play units available faster, 100%. I mean, not only this, but more free-to-play units to be released just in general. We just don't get that many more free-to-play characters anymore. It's a really big downside because the free-to-play units is just another way for people to get access to some characters, and those characters typically being boosted on further events. So it's just, ways to give people easier ways to deal with gimmicks on pieces of content. Make gems cheaper. Yes. If you go to other gacha games in comparison, like Treasure Cruise is definitely one of the most expensive gacha games out there. There is obviously caveats to all of this though, because not every game does a 10+1 pull when you do a multi-pull. On Treasure Cruise, obviously every multi you do, you get a 1 unit for free. And the fact is like, if you just account for how many multis you've done on your account, imagine how many free units that you've achieved over the course of your account just because they give you 1 free character per multi. And while yes, that's a weird way of looking at it, that's the ideology that I think Bandai have in terms of the way that they deal with the multi-pull. I don't know. Gems are obviously very, very expensive. 30 gem multis per multi. Honestly, this would be pretty sick. If they don't change the gem price, but they make it so every multi is 30 gems flat out, that would also be a way to circumvent the gem cost issue. So I think pretty decent points here from Pappy, so we got to respect that. We got Red Halo Gaming. Shout out to Red Halo, another Treasure Cruise content creator. I don't believe in removing content is the best choice, but bringing back content like raids and arenas or making new content in that aspect would give players more variety outside of the endless content cycle. Yeah, 100%. Like, they could just leave the content as it is right now, but just give us more to do. Give us raids, give us arenas, like, just give us additional content to do. I mean, yeah, this would give us access to more free-to-play characters, which would be a huge positive. But even if they don't give us free-to-play units, just give us stuff to do, and then there's like missions associated with it, like beat the new Coliseum or beat the new arena with an int fighter team or something like that. Something along those lines would be pretty cool. But as it stands, yeah, I think we just need raids and arenas back at a bare minimum, right? Raise the gem economy so players get more gems each month. 100% agree. Or add step-ups like 1 gem or additional 30 gem multis to banners. Yeah, even that's a good point. Like, obviously, changing every multi to a 30 gem multi is a big change, but even if they just add more 30 gem steps or 1 gem multi steps, like what they've done in the past, that would also be a huge positive as well. Removing login gems from celebration logins is baffling. It's crazy to me. Like, every other gacha game, pretty much every other gacha game that I can think of, has a campaign usually, especially during big celebratory periods, where you log in, you get premium currency every single day. The fact that Treasure Cruise does not do that is insanity. I don't get why they don't do it. It is crazy, right? Considering they've done it for the longest time, and now they don't do it anymore. It's wild, right? Go back to how boosted lists used to look. Yep, we talked about that earlier. Essentially double the size of what they are now. A new unit should be boosted on every event after release until the event replacement unit drops. I mean, I'm not 100% sure exactly the like what you're describing here, but just characters need to be boosted for longer. Like, I believe, like the Luffy versus Kaido stuff, like that shit dropped real hard. And like the 10th anniversary units, they were boosted for I think 1 treasure map, maybe 2 treasure maps, and then they were gone. This stuff just needs to be boosted for a lot longer. 100% agree with that. Increase the number of super evolutions each month. We will never catch up. Yeah, it's really, really bad. The fact that we get basically 1 legend on average every 6, almost 7 days, if you just go by the averages since the start of the year, but we only really get 1 super evolution per month. Sometimes we get 2. So that needs to change. I think at a bare minimum, we need 2 super evolutions per month. That needs to definitely be updated. Because with the sheer volume of legends we get, it doesn't equate. It just doesn't equate. And if they give us an additional super evolution, then yeah, it's another character that will be boosted on events, which helps everyone out. Removing the damage cap, that's just silly. Make the content harder if you won't, but don't put stupid limits on damage, especially like you just did in the super boss with the minus 75% damage or whatever the yeah, that was terrible. The most recent super boss, Kizuna, where not only obviously damage cap was still a thing, but then they added additional damage reduction effects through the chain attack down. Don't really understand it. Just let people do as much damage as they want. Like, they consistently release all these characters with broken abilities that stack more and more multipliers on top of each other till we get to a point now where we can do over 1 trillion damage, 10 trillion damage. I know some people have gone even wilder than that, but anytime you do over 1 trillion damage, it will reduce it down to 1 trillion. And in Super Boss, that's a big deal. So the fact that damage cap is still a thing is ridiculous. I don't understand why. Like, even if they don't have to show the full number, at least allow people to hit the damage that they're actually hitting. You don't have to show the full number if it's too big or it's gonna like bug the game out or something like that. Let people hit their targets, man. Come on. Lastly, making the game more fun would help too. It's a little bit broad. You need to be a bit more specific, but obviously Red Halo has a lot of good points here. Shout out to Flame. I mean, Flame hasn't really been playing Treasure Cruise, so can we really take his opinion? I mean, I'm just playing. Flame, obviously, a former Treasure Cruise content creator. He is a part of the Good, Great, Perfect podcast, so he hears all of the grievances that both Pappy and I talk about basically every single week. So let's see what he has to say. Less ranking events. I mean, again, that takes apart Kizuna and Treasure Map and stuff like that. I'm not sure if they just straight up remove them. Bring back challenge dungeons, 0 stamina events. Yeah, I mean, like, new GARP challenges. I think a lot of people probably agree with that. But also, like, training forests. Training forests were a big one that a lot of people really loved. And the fact that, you know, you go through all that effort to beat a really difficult piece of content, and then you get a new ship that you can play around with. Like, that's a really big deal. And the fact that they don't do it anymore, it's just lazy. Decrease the amount of banners per month. 100% agree with that one. Create batches with unique effects that have synergy opposed to just throwing random effects on units. Yeah, this is actually kind of a big deal as well, because with the way that they kind of build batches these days, it's more about they build the content first, make it extremely difficult, and then basically build the content, build the units to specifically counter the content at hand. And when they do that, it makes the units just extremely niche and very difficult to use in other teams. Like, I mean, if you just take, for example, like Galaxy Impact Garb, like that character had such weird unit design. And even if you take into effect like the Odin, Kinemon Denjiro, Carrot, Dog, and Cat, like those units are just, they're not great by themselves, and they're going to really see not much usage outside of the events that they were kind of built for. And it just kind of sucks because they release like so many legends. They're useful for one piece of content, and then you basically never need them again. And that's also the other thing, right? Is that there's no reason to pull for every unit, you know? Because, like, you pull for this unit, they're good for that one piece of content, you never use them again, and then it's like, what's the point of pulling all of these units? Because there's just no other content to play except for TM, Kizuna, co-op quest, but even that's a whole other issue, right? There's just so much wrong that needs to change. More Yamato inputting. Shout out to Flame. Share more in GGP. Yeah, we'll talk about it, of course. Vang is a good friend of a lot of the other Treasure Cruise creators and players in the community. So let's see what he says. He says, speed up the game and have actual auto. Yeah, the auto in Treasure Cruise is really bad, but at the same time, I don't see them changing it all that much. It would be cool though. Imagine before you enter a quest, you can like set up your specials to be used on certain stages. So like when you reach stage 4, activate this special, switch with this. Like if you could set up your auto perfectly and let the game run it for you, that would be freaking insane. Could do something like if the enemy has a certain buff, your unit that has a debuff for it would auto launch. That's cool. Yeah, something like that would make sense too. Probably consolidate all the different shops to one shop menu where you can find everything. That's not a terrible idea either. That's a pretty decent quality of life update that I'm pretty sure wouldn't be that difficult to implement. So yeah, that's a really good idea, honestly. Alexander Wisniewski, who's in my alliance and also a supporter of the Good, Great, Perfect podcast. So shout out to Alex. Make more tier lists for the daily login packs in shop that offer more daily... make more tier lists. Make more tiers for the daily login packs in shop that offer more daily gems for a bit more money. So more login, like, subscription packs. Don't know if they really need to, but it's the fact that we don't get that many gems per day these days. I mean, if you log in, do all of your dailies, it's not too bad. But if you're just logging in just to pick up your mail and then leaving, you don't really get as many gems. Get rid of the damage cap. Yep. Include one with the story mode. I mean, the thing is, the story mode hasn't been updated for like 4 years plus. I just don't see story mode ever being updated ever, which is really sad, because that's also another good way to earn some gems. Even they could do their own like custom like a game original story, you know, something like that would be really cool. I know Dokkan Battle does that as well, and then that's a really good way for people to earn gems. People get really good free-to-play characters that way as well. Unfortunately, we don't get anything like that. Make skulls for free-to-play units easier to get if you miss them. Yeah, because if you miss like the skulls in Kizuna, you have to wait like 2 to 3 months for them to come back. So that's obviously a huge issue that needs to be fixed. Refocusing more on the puzzle aspect of the game. So this is the same thing that Pappy said. Yeah, this could go... It's a little vague, but one thing is just the fact that the game is too difficult. Honestly, I feel like the game needs to be not really dumbed down, but the game as it stands right now is too difficult. Like, if a new player comes into the game, there's just so much information they need to consume in order to just jump into the game. It's not accessible. It's not good for the casual player base. And I feel like if Treasure Cruise wants to stabilize and be in the gacha game space, they need to focus more on the casual player base, because the casuals is where the money is, and the game is going to stay alive if they continue to make money. So the game is too difficult right now. The hardcore players, they're just basically trying to retain the hardcore players. That's the way that I see it right now. So they need to make the game easier, and obviously making the boosted list better, making the gimmicks not as difficult, removing the damage cap. All of those things, I think, is going to make it just an overall more enjoyable experience for everyone, you know? But there's more than just that needs to be fixed in order to make the game better. Alright, TheLordShiro, another community member. Remove the super damage cap. Everyone agrees. Next, we'll reduce the amount of summonable units each month. Yep, we agree with that. Or how expensive the banners are, going from 50 gems to 30 gems. Again, that all makes sense. Every event, for any debuff intended to be handled by a debut summonable unit, there is an available free-to-play replacement. This is also kind of a big deal, and why we need more free-to-play units is because sometimes only the summonable units deal with the gimmicks, and if you don't summon the unit and you don't get them, you're just kind of screwed. So that's actually kind of a good point. Make more free-to-play content, like, I'm pretty sure you meant arenas here. Change the structure of appearing debuffs on events like TM and Kizuna to be similar to PKA, where the higher level you are, the more debuffs that the player will have to handle. So basically, making the earlier levels really, really easy, and then make the difficulty scale on higher levels, whereas on, like, Kizuna, for example, like, there's the base difficulty, and then after level 30, it just jumps up a little bit. And then on TM, it's just the same difficulty the whole way through, unless if you're, depending on your, your rank on TM, being from like East Blue, Grand Line, or New World. So, yeah, maybe more scalable debuffs, I think, is a good idea, and would make it so that the game can still be difficult for those people that want to be on the higher levels. But, you know, for the casual player base, this is a good way to at least, you know, get their toes in the water, you know, get their feet wet a little bit in the game, in the gimmicks. So maybe that's a good idea. Kizuna has a few things that need to be fixed. The stamina and token system make the ticket exchange boxes not terrible. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the boxes just don't have great rewards. Like getting cola and tomes back to back to back every single month. Established players have infinite amount of cola and tomes and stuff like that. And I mean, the ship upgrade feature is another thing that needs to be upgraded too. As much as I want to say remove PvP, I know Todd would not consider that valid. No, I actually think Pyro Rumble's pretty decent still. Instead of just focus on a free-to-play way to recover stamina, because only being gems is bad. Okay, there's some issue there with that photo, but that's either way. I think that a lot of that makes sense. Yeah, so again, a lot of it was reiterating what a lot of people have said. Ziad says, I'd update the overall UI to modernize it. I mean, this is a big thing, though. Like, it's a lot of resources they have to invest in order to update the UI of the game, especially if you want to completely update the UI of the game. And I feel like resources are better spent making the game a more enjoyable experience compared to just aesthetics. I think aesthetics are kind of like the polishing of the game. Whereas if the game itself is not good, then it doesn't matter what it looks like. You know, you can have a terrible looking game, but the game is still fun as all hell, right? So while I agree this would be cool, resources are better invested in other places. Okay, Looney, what you got? Make the modes more acceptable to players who don't spend exorbitant amounts of money. Yep, again, more like free-to-play units, the boosted list, all that kind of stuff. Making fights and battles dependent on the newer units and content is essentially a big issue of the game. Yep, 100%. If we're able to use the older units because they're not worth it, then what's the point? True. The latest Kizuna showcased how terrible the new system is. You needed new units to just have a chance at anything for major damage. Yet the super boss versus the strength one, I believe, where if you didn't have Katakuri and Big Mom, you were just kind of screwed. I mean, same with Kaido. I think you needed Kaido and King to remove the tap limit, and then you needed Big Mom Katakuri to deal with the blowaway mechanics. So the fact that they built it focused around that is really terrible. So yeah, just terrible design. I get it. End of the game content is important for those who do pay and buy gems, but overall, yeah, they basically have catered the game just to the hardcore players, which is where a lot of the issues is. We've talked about it already. The casuals need a little bit of support. Continue story mode, make it less pay to win, make it like Dokkan a bit. I mean, again, pretty vague. Game, make it less pay to win. Would love to see that, and unfortunately, I just don't see story mode coming back. And we see this guy, oh my god, this guy shut it down and put the resources on Bounty Rush, a better game. This guy right here, I was so tilted when he said this. I did actually quote this tweet. Yeah, this was ridiculous, man. I mean, look, I've tried Bounty Rush. I'm just not a fan of the game. I really just do not like it. Okay, Marcus, less time-gated content and missions, so make stuff available for longer, I think, makes sense. Less booster meta. Relax on the boosted list. Again, this is a consistent thing here. The boosted list is so bad on all of this content. I mean, the only one where boosted list doesn't matter as much is Kizuna Clash, because, you know, you build the team focused on the content, where, like, you know, slashers, free spirits, shooters get cooldown. You just build a team of that, and it doesn't matter. But TM and PKA, those are the ones where the boosted lists need the most tinkering. Less legends. So many bad legends, quality over quantity. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Not only just we get so many of them, but so many of them are terrible and just will never see play. Totally agree with that. Content that you can grind over a long period that is rewarding. Guard missions, even if they reduce the gems slightly. True with that. Guard missions, they're available just for infinite amount of time, and you can kind of just clear the rewards whenever you want. While that is a good thing, there definitely needs to be time-gated content to get people to come back into the game, like have an urgency to play. So, yeah, I think this one, I get why he says it, but I just don't think they'll follow this. And less hard punishing content. Yeah, the game is too difficult. Stop the endless monthly scheduling of grinding events. Yeah, it's just the same content over and over again, you know? Improving the beginning for beginner players. Explain buffs and debuffs clearly. Improve the outdated interface. Make creating good teams easier, rework some events that are unbearable to play, and improve character releases. I think this is an interesting point. Make crafting good teams easier. The thing is like every piece of content requires a different team. This is not like Dokkan Battle where you can build one team and beat everything. And obviously that's an exaggeration because that isn't the case in Dokkan. But, you know, there isn't one team in Treasure Cruise that just beats like a bunch of content, because Treasure Cruise is a difficult game. Improving the stuff for beginners, explaining buffs and debuffs more clearly, I think is a really good point. I think what they could do is like make like a whole tutorial mission thing where like every little island gives you information about certain debuffs, and it gives you like a bunch of different characters or different abilities as like an example crew showing you how to deal with buffs. So let's say, you know, there's a specific island that totally just talks about despair, and then you can have like, you know, supports that will trigger to remove despair. You have special abilities that can trigger to remove despair. And then potentially like the enemy shifts a character to the captain's position, and then that captain removes despair, and it explains that. So I think something along those lines where you can show the players why things are happening and how they're happening and how they can counter those things is a big deal. I totally agree with that. Doomy says weekly multi-purchasable with 100 gems. Wait, what? I don't even know what that means. Release items or options to make old units playable instead of releasing. I mean, yeah, we would love older units to be playable. It's so funny to think back at when they were first releasing Grand Voyage. They basically marketed the Grand Voyage game mode as a way for older units to become usable again. And we thought that was really exciting. But then they introduced Grand Voyage with level limit break, and the way that they kind of like said the game was going to play was completely different, where it's like, oh, this piece of content comes out, you know, hopefully you've got all your old units with max level limit break plus, you know, max cotton candy, everything. so that you can use those old units with buffs to beat the content. And if you didn't have that unit, you're screwed. It was terrible, terrible marketing. Just kind of funny, just talking about how make old units playable, because that's what they marketed the Grand Voyage content for, and it just was not that at all, which is crazy. Account recovery progress. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people ask this quite often, actually, about getting their game back. Apparently, the account recovery process is really terrible. I'm not too sure the logistics behind that, but I do agree that this probably has to be fixed in some way. But I think it's just difficult because of the security stuff. Green, I'm going to focus on TM. It's my favorite game mode so that I can give it the most fair thought. The TM boosted list needs to go back to how it was with a large list of characters. Yep. What makes TM so much more fun for me is team building aspect and not having to repeat units for battle rush. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with this. TM actually is probably the best game mode right now, mainly just because the rewards you get from it is just the best out of the game modes. In terms of actual game playability, I think Kizuna is the best to play, but the rewards are just best from TM, you know? With a small booster list, it made it pretty much impossible to have teams that are fully boosted. Exactly. It's all about the booster list. It's all about how terrible, it is to pull for these new units. You know, it is what it is. Exactly what it is. I feel like a lot of people have the same sentiment. Free multi every 3, just like Dokkan. Story mode should be added. Interesting about the free multi. So, do 3, get 1 free. I wouldn't mind that, but what they would probably do is the free multi, would have no step up at all. It'd just be a base multi, no boosted, no boosted step, no guaranteed anything. It's just a random multi. Even if they did do that, you get 11 units for free. I think that's a pretty cool way to go about it. Would they do it? I would say probably not. But hey, crazier things have happened. Alexis, too many modes in the game. I only play Rumble. I mean, Rumble is pretty cool too, because you just don't have to play the game. You just you click go and just watch it do its thing, you know. Rumble's a lot of fun, honestly. All right, we got Zoro in here. Bring back Raising Colosseums. Yes, sir. Please bring that back. Limited legend release to no more than 2 to 3 a month. While I would love this, it's probably not going to happen, but I would love just less legends in general, and then the fact that we get so many TM legends, Kizuna legends, Rumble legends even. There's just so much going on, you know, and it's really difficult to keep track of everything. It's really annoying to keep up with it, and people are just kind of sick of having a legend on every single banner. It's just ridiculous, man. Bring back the Yoshi banner steps, 30 gem multis and 1 gem multis. We would love this to happen, but the way that the game is right now, I just don't see it happening. I would love for it to happen. But if you just see how the game has gone over the last 12 months, in no way can you ever say that this is going to happen. We would love it, it's just not gonna, probably. Remove Super Boss Kizuna damage cap and atrocious mechanics like the Croc one we just had. Yeah, the latest Super Boss Kizuna was bad. Scrap PKA together and revert it to Fortnite. Yeah, PKA is a bit of a rough one. I think when PKA first came out, it was... Well, look, when PKA drops, when a new batch drops, and it's one of those big Sugo Fest that everyone actually does pulls on, like Anniversary, like New Year's is going to be, when people have the units, PKA is so much fun. But when you don't have the unit, PKA is so grueling to play. So they need to, again, the boosted list is probably the biggest issue, and it's too difficult. It just straight up is way too difficult. Especially with the most recent updates, with the whole level 200, 300 ability. I absolutely hate that update. It's not good. I'm not a fan at all. We've got Reese in here making TM a lot less time consuming to play through, especially for East Blue League. I get there on easy mode, but Jesus Christ, returning to the game and trying TM takes too much time per clearance. While this is true, I just feel like there's not much you can do about it. TM is the way that it is, and just because they're on East Blue doesn't mean that they could, clear it faster. I mean, I don't think there's really much to say there, to be honest. Brian Griffin, bit of an unpopular opinion, but I'd add every Coliseum and Arena unit because Bandai won't. For some reason, hell, they haven't even added Arena Devon and Reiju. Very strange. I don't know why they haven't added them yet. Yeah, if you go to the Recollection Archive, for some reason Devon and Reiju are not playable. You can't unlock them and gain that character. They're just infinitely unavailable, which is insane. And there are still a lot of Colosseum, like previous Colosseum units that have just never been back. It's crazy, man. They really need to go back and add a lot of those units. Treasure map to be 4 times faster and Rumble to have skip. Rumble will never have skip because Rumble requires gems to refresh stamina, right? And if people just have a bunch of gems, they can just play Rumble so much faster. And I just don't think that is a healthy thing to have for a competitive game mode, where if someone just has a shitload of gems, they just use a bunch of skips and goes over and over and over again, especially in like Super Rumble season or the Championship Series. They're just that would be really bad to go up against. 4 times speed for TM, I'm all for it. Anything to make treasure map faster. I mean, I know that Reese mentioned it here as well about speeding up TM, but again, he was talking about from the perspective of East Blue. I think just in general, just make it all faster, 100%. So we've got low effort here, and he says every Sugo should have 1 free multi, more free gems, better rates, boosted the last 3 months of events at the same rate, better modes that aren't just a grind hundreds of times, remove ranking from over half of the events, put rewards back into them, skip for Rumble. Again, that's not going to happen. I think having a free multi with every Sugo Fest that comes out, I agree with that. I think that's actually a really good call. And even if they didn't want to do it for every Sugo, like every Sugo that is not a Rumble, TM, or Kizuna banner. So if it's not one of those 3, it should have a free multi on it, in my opinion. That's the way that it should go. But that, it is what it is, right? If it's a non-competitive game mode, like PKA, like, the New Year's Sugo Fest or 10th anniversary units, I feel like they should have free multis. They really should. Some actual events during big campaigns instead of just the usual. I mean, we get like blitz battles during the big campaigns, but again, it's just like a rerun of the same kind of event, and they're also really difficult if you don't have the units. They're so bad. Like, seriously, when a big event comes out for, like let's say New Year's, right? New Year's is going to have a big event. If you don't get the full batch, it is not worth competing in the event. It's just worth doing the bare minimum, get your Chopman mission rewards done, and then just don't even play, because you're never going to compete against people that have the full batch of units, and you're just wasting your time. That's my opinion. That's the perspective that I have, because one of the most recent blitz battles that came out recently, I think it was the other one with Roger, right? Did that one have a blitz battle? I can't remember. Whatever the most recent blitz battle was, I didn't have the full batch, and I just could not be bothered grinding against people where they had the full batch. I didn't, and I was just behind the whole time. Absolutely hated it. Okatsu. Any free Sugo Rare unit of your choosing depending on the year you pick from. I think that's a good idea. More free legend selections. I know Dokkan has this, and I don't understand why Treasure Cruise doesn't have it. I think this would be fantastic to give ways to people to pick up units that they don't have, and if they've got all the stuff, they can just pick up units for level limit break, I think it'd be good. Magma King, make all events last 1 month to allow casual players to get the points. Yeah, this is something that we've been talking about like for ages, about like even TM lasting for an entire month, but then make the ranking period just for like the first 3 or 4 days. I think that would be a really good way to go about it. A lot of people asking for gems, we kind of understand that, back-to-back events, yeah, it can be really, really annoying. Remove the PvP system, I think Rumble's fine, honestly. Make units and characters more universal and make animations actually good, like Jesus Christ, learn from Dokkan Battle. Again, Dokkan Battle has a lot more assets and resources to be using compared to Treasure Cruise, especially when you just look at the base revenue that these 2 games comparatively make. And then the units and characters more universal. I don't really get what you would mean by that. If you just want all the characters to be rainbow, that would just be terrible. I think that it's good that there are characters that are focused on certain classes. But the problem really is they just give so many buffs to the same classes over and over again. We consistently get Luffy's, Kaido's, Zoro's, like characters that we don't need versions of that consistently compete for each other's crew slots. And consistently buffing Free Spirit, Cerebral, all those classes when you've got like classes like Shooter and Fighter that are just garbage, So there's a lot of issues in regards to that. Bring back old global discounts, like talking about your 30 gem multis, the 1 gem multis for sure. Simplify ability descriptions, make them bullet points. I agree with this. This is actually a really good call. But the problem is going back and altering it for every unit is pretty difficult. That's a big thing. Make them bullet points, use icons, stop explaining what a Wano orb is every time. Oh my god, yeah, every description that mentions Wano slot pretty much just like shows what a Wano slot is. Doesn't the game have a glossary for that? Yeah, it does. Add meaningful units to the metal exchange. Yeah, the metal exchange is so bad. That's another thing that's kind of get overlooked. The metal exchange is just terrible now. But then again, if you're an established player that's been playing for a long time, you've had a lot of these metals, then the metal exchange, it gets to a point where, yeah, it's not useful anymore. If you're a beginner, mid-level player, the metal exchange is still pretty good because of the characters you get access to. Not the legends, but the golds you can get access to. The rare recruits that have good support effects, even though they are pullable on basically every banner. Talking about, the limited time units, the limited time rare recruits, the world journey characters. There's just a lot of good units in there. But for established players that have been here for a while, the hardcores, metal exchanges just kind of sucks. Let's see. You can use the same character on the same team. I've seen people mention this. I think this would be really interesting, but I don't know how this would go in terms of the fact that, super tandems and EX supers need, requiring certain characters to be on the crew. This could kind of really screw with that. But again, it's all up to team composition and how you build it. But if you're able to use multiple Luffys on the team, you could build some pretty busted teams, not gonna lie. That'd be kind of crazy, seeing the types of teams that people would be able to come up with. But I agree, something like this would be interesting to explore. I don't know if the team has opted to do something like that. But then again, it might be like something hard-coded in the spaghetti code of Treasure Cruise, where having characters of the same name on the same team could cause problems. But again, I'm not sure. I don't work on the game, so it's hard to really talk about that. But that's an interesting point, one that I haven't really thought about in a while. Less legends, yep, totally agree with that. Diversify the boosted list, yeah, we already, again, a lot of people talking about the same stuff. All right, we've got a lot of info here coming in from Pal Barber. Events should boost all units related to the saga and theme. That's an interesting take. If there's an Alabaster Sugo, all Alabaster units should receive a minimal boost. You imagine the Wano events? Holy! Then again, you could split Wano up so you could do like early Wano events, you could do Onigashima related events. But then again, if you did Onigashima, that's so many characters, man. You got no idea. Bring back clashes, arenas, ambush, coliseums every month in line with the Sugo theme. Yeah, I mean, we agree with this for sure. Give them limit break key expansions. Level limit break, create more content by encouraging players to farm copies of characters that are back in the meta. Yeah, additionally include all missing free-to-play units. We agree with that. Assign more value to limit break keys and avoid handing them out immediately when releasing a new character. We've become just a way to add a few extra stats. Yeah, limit break expansions where you use a key to unlock them. Basically ever since expansions have come out, they've basically always debuted with a character, so that's not going to change because they've been doing it for so long. But I do agree, because handing out limit break expansions to characters that just release is such an awful thing to do, because you're only just giving them stats. You're not actually giving them reasons to do it. Like maybe they get a cooldown reduction or something like that. But it hinders their potential growth in the future, where if you don't give them an expansion and you wait a year or something, then you can give it an expansion which does give them more stats, more potential cooldown, and just other abilities. Like you could have nodes that upgrade their specials or something like that to warrant people doing it. So I agree with that one for sure. Remove the short duration missions for Peak A. The short term missions for that, where you have to farm Hime turtles, absolutely garbage. Totally agree with that. They're just so difficult to get to, unless if you do pull the new batch. Just more ways to kind of incentivize people to do pulls on the Sugo Fest, Skip button for the first 3 dailies of Rumble. Okay, you know what? I totally agree with this. We mentioned not adding skip for Rumble because of the fact that it's super competitive, but if you add skip for the first, you could do it 3 times per day. I agree with that. That would actually be really, really cool. Restore the 30 gem first multi. Yeah, I think every Sugo Fest, the first multi should be 30 gem at a bare minimum. 1 gem on the 4th multi. Yeah, those were the days, man. 30 gem on the 1st, 1 gem on the 4th. Because you do the 30 gem multi because it's 30 gems. And then you got the 2nd and the 3rd multi. Typically the 3rd multi has a really good step. The 4th multi is a 1 gem multi. And then typically the 5th step had a really good incentivized step. So by the time you do the 3rd multi and then the 1 gem multi to do 4, it incentivizes you to do the 5th one. So it's such a cool structure to not only like actually give players like a reason to do pulls, because the value is really, really good. Like you're doing like 30, 50, 50, that's already 130, and then 131 gems for 4 multis. Like that's such a good value. And then adding the 5th multi, which has a good step on it as well, it just incentivizes people to actually do pulls. Whereas every multi being 50 gems and the steps are also terrible, people just feel really bad about pulling. People just do. They really, really hate it. So I agree. The old structure used to be super good. Everyone loved it. Including super evolution skulls in every Kizuna box, not just the 7th one. Having to reroll that one a bunch of times. Yeah, I think a lot of people miss this one because if you complete the missions as an alliance in terms of the amount of clears and the amount of assists that you do get the additional skulls for the character. So you only have to clear the 7th box once, because you get 1 from box 6, you get 2 from box 7, and then you get 1 for clears and then 1 for assists as an alliance. So it gives you 5 total. But I think people do miss that. But I do think that, you know, again, for people that don't have a good alliance that are able to do it, it is something to look out for, you know. Swap some of the reward tickets for Choose Your Sugo tickets. Yeah, the reward tickets that we get, like those random tickets, like, you know, it's a 10% chance to be a legend or a 5% chance to be a legend. Those tickets blow. They're so bad. You know, I would imagine if every one of those tickets instead was just a 1 gem. If you just replace every single like 5%, 10% ticket with a 1 gem reward, people would be so much more excited for that. I'm telling you, people would love that way more. But good points. Very, very good points from Bao Barber here. I like it. I like it. Give lots of gems and give lots of gems and release less legends. Yeah, I think we agree with that. Yep, units, we talked about this earlier, units becoming irrelevant way too quickly. Basically only needed for that month, and that's basically it, you know? It's really annoying. Make the missions unique, such as clear local sea monster quick units instead of Psy, so changing it up a little bit, potentially. It might be difficult to apply stuff like that, but we'll see. Could be kind of cool. And did it make a new One Piece game? I mean, hey, that is also an idea. I would love for them to make a new One Piece game, because I'm not really a big fan of Bounty Rush. And if they made a new One Piece game, I'd be totally down for it. But like the thing about Treasure Cruise is that I love the visuals of Treasure Cruise. I love the aesthetic of the game, and the gameplay of the game is good. It's just the management of the game is where it kind of falls short for me, unfortunately, you know. Story mode's not going to happen. Fortnights, would love for them to come back. Not going to happen. But the thing with Fortnights, the only reason why Fortnights were a thing were for people to farm skill books for rare recruits that had come out previously. The thing is now is that we get the color and rarity specific books, which means Fortnights become useless. The only reason Fortnights would exist then would to add some very irrelevant free-to-play characters, really, is what it would be at that point. But yeah, if they brought back Fortnights with reasons to farm them, with decent free-to-play units, would actually be pretty neat. Clashes, we all love clashes. Make old units more relevant. Boosted for cooldown and points. Make rewards more enticing. More tablets and level up posters. More level up posters, level and rank wanted posters is a good call. More tablets, I guess people kind of love tablets. Less gimmicks, yeah, I mean, the game is too hard. We kind of talked about that one. Shut down and make OPTC 2. Yeah, shout out to Foxkey, who's been a supporter for a long time, so shout out to him. Game is cool. Cancel the game. I think the game is in a really toxic place for folks that don't spend a ton of money per week. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, really. Okay, what else do we have here? Giving old units a character a purpose. But there's so many characters, right? Like, how do you give each of them purpose? It's tough, man. It's tough. More ways and modes to get power-up materials more frequently. Again, a little bit vague. I don't think that's that big of an issue. Release fewer Sugo legends, making them a special unit rather than a filler legend. Yep, we would love that. An updated tutorial. Yeah, the tutorial, like, they need a more robust tutorial system in the game. Obviously, there's the tutorial when you first start the game, but there needs to be a way that, like an area in the game that people can go to play stuff, to learn things about the game. Because as it stands right now, man, it is way too hard to jump in. Legacy mode for older units that don't see play. Again, that's pretty vague. I don't really know what you mean by a legacy mode, but in theory, it sounds kind of cool. I would love to hear more about what a legacy mode would kind of look like, but that's kind of interesting. Just add more content. Yeah, they just need stuff to do. More clashes, arenas, coliseums, new GARP challenges, forest of trainings, all of the old content that people actually liked. that is never released anymore, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Here we go, right here. Garb challenges, Clash Arena Coliseum. 5+'s raid boss. Honestly, that's not a bad idea. Giving super evolutions to free-to-play units, like make people, like what you could do is you have arenas or clashes, and then you release a harder version of the stage where people can farm them to get the super evolution skulls to evolve the original unit. That would be pretty dope. Honestly, that would be a really, really cool way to get people back into it. New challenge modes, pretty vague, less legends, bring back ambushes for new characters. Ambush, that's not a terrible one as well. Ambushes were pretty hard, but also kind of a cool way to for people to pick up a pretty good free-to-play unit. Like, a lot of the time, the ambushes were pretty strong, especially on release. Like, Ambush Garp was really strong on release, and the other one, obviously, being Big Mom. Ambush Big Mom was really, really powerful. If they want to release so many legends, I want them to at least make better steps. Yeah, I mean... yeah, the structure of a lot of the Sugo Fest is just terrible. Or it's either that or like the steps are just too expensive. You know, being 50 gems, not even having one discount. Really, really brutal, honestly. But yeah, it's pretty annoying. New content about stages like in a ladder. Like stage 1 is easy and the stage gives you 1 rainbow gem. Stage 2 is a little bit hard and they give you a legend ticket and so on. So kind of like a tower mode, I would say. I don't know how you would develop this in the sense of treasure cruise. Maybe it's like one of those like Dokkan Battlefield things where you select from your character box, you select like 100 characters and then you have to use 100 characters to beat like X amount of bosses. I think something like that would be pretty cool. Scrap co-op and PKA. I mean, co-op quest it needs its own full discussion video. Co-op quest is such a mess. Bring back turtle point farming. Don't know if I agree with that one. I really did not like the turtle point farming. Bring back Fortnights, Raids, and Coliseums. Introduce a practice dummy with buffs and debuff sliders to test your damage output. That is a really good idea. Would absolutely love that. And then you could have missions where it's like reach X amount of damage against the practice dummy to get rewards. That would be pretty cool. Or even like make it a monthly thing. Like whoever has the max amount of damage on during a month, that like you get like monthly rewards based on that. That'd be kind of cool. Allow people within Pirate Alliance to battle against each other through Rumble. I've been asking for a Rumble system such as this where you could select who you battle. Like you can go to your friends list and battle their defense team. I've been asking for that for the longest time, just purely because you could do some really cool community events where people can like play against each other. People can create their own tournaments for Pirate Rumble. It would be so much fun, but they've never brought it into the game, which is crazy to think about. And then the boosted list. We all know how bad the boosted list is. More Halloween waifus. Shut the game down. Oh my god. We got Zach up in here. You don't have to release only Wano units. Bruh, we're so sick of the Wano stuff, man. No more Wano. Please, please. He wants to see Caesar Legend. Sorry, we got a little bit of a Caesar fan over here. Lower the skull prices in Kizuna Exchange. They have done a little bit of stuff in regards to the Kizuna Exchange stuff, but I totally agree with that. And the Ericv tickets, yeah, we agree. The Ericv tickets are, they're stinkers, man. They're straight up stinkers. Better pity system. The daily login rewards are bad. I agree with that. You use the same character in different teams. I mean, that's kind of like that's the point of difference of Treasure Map, where you have to have, you know, different teams for each boss. That's the point of difference of that boss, you know? There's just so much, man. I think most people are kind of in the same boat with a lot of this stuff. 2 main banners per month, 1 every 15 days. Again, I doubt that's going to happen. Integrate the PvP and support units in the main banner, making it good at PvE as well. Make the regular events less dependent on new units. Yes, I mean, it's just, the content's too hard. Stop catering the content around these new units. It just makes team building so annoying. Use the Grand Voyage stages for display of the new units while making it difficult but not impossible, while with other units, at least until level 3 and 4. Yeah, I mean, Grand Voyage is also a bit of a mess where they kind of, again, we talked about it earlier, they marketed it as a thing where you could use old units, but then they kind of just, you know, gate kept the event, because if you didn't have the unit with max level limit break, max expansion, max candy, max everything, the character, and if you didn't even have the character, you just couldn't even beat the content. So Grand Voyage in and of itself is a terribly designed piece of content. Well, it's not terribly designed, just the stages in Grand Voyage are terribly designed. The game mode itself is fine, Just the stages in Grand Voyage are terrible. Extend the duration of TM to 10 days, but ranking for the first 5 days. Yeah, we agree with this one too. Just giving people more of an option to actually get the rewards if they're unable to play during the event period. It is what it is though, you know. More permanent content, GARP challenges, arenas. Yeah, make rare recruits and legends on the active banner available for medal exchange. I don't think they would do this. I don't think they would do this. Yeah, so like if a new legend comes out, you could just buy them from the shop with like your medals. I just, as cool as it would be, I just don't expect that to be the case. So I think most people probably understand exactly where most people are coming from. Like, I'm just seeing pretty much the exact same points. I mean, we can go over to the YouTube channel now and see if there are any points that are different from Twitter, but I'm assuming that most of it is going to be relatively the same. A lot of people talking about the banner, talking about how, you know, gems are just too expensive, and then, you know, the discounts are always a good thing. GARP challenges consistently being mentioned as well, because the good thing about GARP challenges and why people mention them so much is it gives people an opportunity to use characters that they don't often get a chance to use. GARP challenges are not super difficult pieces of content. They do provide somewhat of a challenge, but being able to complete them under certain conditions with certain classes or certain colors, it just breathes a bit of freshness into the game where you're not consistently just slaving to what the boosted list is giving you. You can create whatever team you want. And I think having that freedom whilst also completing missions and getting rewards for doing so is part of the reason why people like it so much, you know? Again, a lot of people want story mode, but I'm sorry, I just don't think story mode's happening. Here we go with my mate Stump. Let's see what he's saying. Again, 30 cost, the 30 gems or the 1 gem multis. Banners are the first multi, should be discounted with no bonus on the step. Yep, agreed. This will make the gem economy a lot easier to digest. We need more basic content, 1 arena, coliseum, or event. Again, I completely agree with this one. The 5+ units lately have fulfilled this role well, but most players struggling to get this done every month and are punished if they don't. Yeah, if you miss out on the 5+ or getting the PKA unit, you're screwed, because that unit usually will be very useful in Kizuna or the treasure map for that month. Having a second option to help will make the new world final boss a lot easier for players. Yeah, I mean, even if they're lower boosted, but just making the free-to-play characters accessible enough where those units are able to deal with most of the gimmicks on the final boss or intrusion boss on a TM would definitely help out a lot. Okay, for Rumble, I'm fine with Rumble at the moment, Grand Party included. However, I know this is not the case with all players. An extra half-day to Grand Party, give all players 18 chances at the 15 wins. Totally agree with this one. Or reduce it to 10 wins every month for the max rewards. Yeah, I agree. Either give us 3 additional chances or make it 10 wins for the max rewards. I think would be a really good way to go about it. Regular PvP needs something, but I don't know what it looks like. The problem that I have with regular PvP is that, like, I just don't feel like there's much of an incentive to play it as much. Myself personally, I basically just do my dailies for Rumble and that's it. Like, I don't even like grind it. I don't spend gems on it. It doesn't feel good to spend gems when you're only spending like 1 gem for 3 uses. And especially if you end up losing, you know, if you're playing in a more grueling, more competitive landscape in the higher tiers of Grand Party and not Grand Party, sorry, but Pirate Rumble, it can be pretty brutal. And, you know, spending 1 gem for potential losses feels really, really bad. So I'm not too sure what they can do to fix it, but there isn't much incentive to go super hard in it. Because, like, yeah, you can get the red tickets, which are good for upgrading your Gather Island stuff, but I don't really care about that all that much, you know? Super Boss, I mean, again, this damage cap. For Kizuna, removing the damage cap, take away the artificial difficulty. Yeah, where they basically put really stupid gimmicks on the content, which force you to use certain units, which overall like lowers your damage. Just providing difficulty artificially that way is just so frustrating. Make the 10-star easier for mid-level players. Yep, agreed. So it just gives more people opportunities to actually get Kizuna tickets to then actually acquire the skulls and Kizuna insignia from the event itself. Give us a silver tablet for Final Tap, Rush, and Super Tandem. Don't care where they put them, just add them. The fact that we get so many legends each month, which will typically have one of these 3 abilities, and we don't have silver generic tablets for these abilities is actually kind of crazy. That's a good point. We have so many of these units that just give us like non-guaranteed versions of the tablets. People would love to see that in the game. But yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Shout out to my man Stump. Appreciate the comment. Taking time out of his day to do that is good. And I appreciate everyone for commenting all their information and their thoughts and opinions on how to fix Treasure Cruise, because we're doing this for the love of the game, because we fell in love with the game for what the game was, not for what it is now. Okay, let's see if there's any changes here. Garb challenges, story mode, challenging monthly events. Ambitious, a lot of players don't like the monthly event yet, have to grind them. So give us an option of flexible monthly events. I don't think they're going to do that much. Like, I don't think they're going to flex out the monthly events that much. I feel like they don't need to change the release schedule of monthly events. They just need to add more content, and content that is a bit more chill, a bit more laid back, and flexible, so people can use whatever teams they want, you know? Arenas and raids, we all agree with that one as well. The better free-to-play experience, less legends per month, more login gems. Again, this is all pretty much the same stuff. New content, I mean, a tower mode, again, I'm not sure how a tower mode would work that well in Treasure Cruise, but I could definitely see them doing it for sure. Like, that could make sense. Like, even if there's not like a pool of units you get access to, like, let's say you can use your whole character box, and whenever you beat a floor, it's like, yeah, you can't use that unit anymore, and then it resets every month or something. So, you know, you have like a certain amount of floors, you use your character box to get through it. Makes a ton of sense. That could actually work pretty well. More community input, have more legend vote polls or batch theme polls that allow people to vote on to get the engagement up. I love this. They did this in the past a lot, and a lot of people loved it. Everyone loved this, and they decided not to do it anymore after a certain point. But I completely agree. This would be a really good way to get engagement up, get people talking. Buff older legends, giving every legend super type, super class. Yeah, it is weird how some super evolutions for some reason get a super class or super type, and some just don't. So I don't understand the whole theory behind that. Like, just give all units, even if they don't have a super class, super type, just give it to them when they super evolve. I don't get why they pick and choose who does and doesn't. It just doesn't make sense to me. More cola for ship upgrades. The whole ship system needs to be updated. For no reason. People should not be spending over 10,000 cola, millions and millions of berries, and still not getting the max ship upgrade. It just takes way too long to go through it one by one by one. It needs a bit of tweaking, because as it stands, I hate upgrading ships. There are a ton of ships I want to upgrade, but I just refuse to do it, because I know the amount of time that it will take to do it is just not worth it. It just isn't, honestly. But yeah, again, the bunch of the buffs and debuffs you have to bring is getting beyond normal. Yeah, so just make stuff easier, man. Just they gotta make stuff easier. And again, talking about old content that people want back, gold tablet to box stitch. Yeah, that would be a good way to incentivize people to actually go pretty hard on Kizuna if they added a gold tablet, like they cycled each month from Final Tap to Rush to Super Tan and whatever it is. That would incentivize people to play pretty effectively, I feel, because those tablets are exceedingly rare. Garb challenges, again, most people agree with this one. Yeah, it feels like it's mostly the same stuff. So I think we kind of understand where the faults are in Treasure Cruise, and you know, people are different. People have different opinions about what they would love to see to make the game better, but it mostly comes down to the free-to-play experience, the new player experience, the boosted list, the gem economy, the Sugo Fest structure, the game modes, and fixing and tweaking along the ways there. Those are the handful of things that most people definitely think are the problem. So I think with this video in mind, plus a little bit of a write-up on my end to give a little bit more of a succinct structure about what people really want to see in Treasure Cruise, hopefully we can send this off and hopefully get some things changed in the future. You know, obviously nothing happens overnight, but hopefully this will be potentially step forwards into the future. Shout out to my man Dilber, the homie. Let's see what my man Dilber has to say. Stop punishing the player base for not pulling on the most recent banners. If they bring back raids or other free play events, they give us units that have less efficient specials compared to the Sugo Fest exclusives in the batch. This way the new legends in the batch are desirable. Exactly. give us free-to-play units that help deal with the gimmicks for the content at hand. They did this quite a lot back in the day, and it was a really good structure where the boosted list was good. They gave us acceptable free-to-play units that actually dealt with the gimmicks, and that was a really good way for people to get into the game. But unfortunately, it's just not how it is right now. So yeah, I mean, again, it really comes down to those core principles that we've kind of identified throughout the video. But I want to give like a massive shout out to everyone who took time out of their day to comment on my community post and on the tweet, because it just shows how much you care, and just seeing the sheer amount of people that have commented, it really just shows, and will show hopefully the team over at Bandai how much people want this game to succeed. But it's unfortunate that, you know, with the way that things are right now, people are just not happy. And if they don't take the right steps in order to fix some of these problems, then, you know, the game might not be around for too much longer. It is what it is, you know. We just got to see, and hopefully things will change in the future. But that's pretty much it, guys. Obviously, I could be here for like multiple hours going through everyone's comments, but I kind of feel like this is mostly all the same stuff. So that's going to wrap it up for me. So thank you very much to everyone who commented once again. Thank you so much for that. Hopefully you enjoyed the video though. If you did enjoy it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.